What's up, y'all? Will here at Schedule Fly. This was sort of a personal Mount Rushmore episode for me. This is Chip Bair, and he started Bojo's Pizza in Idaho Springs, Colorado, 50 years ago this month. They just celebrated their 50th anniversary. Chip was featured in our first Restaurant Owners Uncorked book that we self-published 12 years ago. And his story stood out to me then, and it always has. And it was a huge honor to be able to come here and do this episode with him in person. He's in town. He and his wife spend the winter months in Hawaii these days, but he's here for the 50th anniversary, and this was really, really cool. There's nothing better in my mind than a story like this where an entrepreneur wants to have a business and is willing to do whatever it takes to get that business off the ground and going. 50 years ago, Chip was sleeping on the floor in the restaurant, didn't have money for rent, did that for a while. Eventually, he traded $25 a month worth of pizza to rent an apartment that from the local dog catcher. So the local dog catcher trades in barter. They barter $25 a month, free pizza. Chip gets rent in an apartment. Chip would recycle newspapers to make money to buy gas to drive down into Denver to buy his supplies for the restaurant because the purveyors wouldn't drive up here at the time. Idaho Springs now, is like, 45 minutes up I-70. And, it's just a small little mining town. They didn't have routes up here back then. So he'd have to drive his car down and pick up all the supplies and come back, make pizzas all day, take care of customers, sleep in the kitchen. Just an incredible story. And now, Bojo's has been going for 50 years, and this Idaho Springs location is now, 3 or 4 buildings that Chip has bought over the years, and they've combined them. There's like 14,000 square feet. There's upstairs, downstairs. They seat over 600 people. It's just incredible. And they have, 4 of the locations in a food truck and another location on the way. And they just announced some really big news, which Chip talks about in this episode, so I won't spoil it. But Chip is a kind, humble, authentic dude who, as he said in the book, was, just kind of a hippie from the 60s wanting to take care of people. And 50 years later, his restaurant and his team are still doing that. And they're doing it really well. This was it was truly an honor. It was a privilege. It was so much fun. I enjoyed getting to meet Chip and his wife and his team. Ate some incredible pizza. Hung out with him for a while after the episode and just talked about life and business. And, he's asking all kinds of questions about Schedule Fly and loves what we're doing. It was just really cool. But what a great opportunity. What a great story. Imagine that, 50 years and they're still going. Y'all will enjoy this episode. Before you do, a word from our sponsor, Pop Menu. Pop Menu is a partner of Schedule Fly, and we have a lot of happy mutual customers. Pop Menu is all about making your day easier and your sales bigger. They will simplify your marketing operations, bring in more guests, capture customer data for personalized remarketing to keep them coming back. With one super simple to use platform that integrates with most point of sales like Toast and Square and a number of others, Pop Menu starts with a beautifully designed, easy to update, interactive menu that transforms the guest experience online. It includes a brand new website that's optimized for search engines like Google at no additional cost, automated digital marketing, online ordering and waitlisting, and you'll never miss another call with their AI answering solution that costs as little as 47 cents an hour. Plus, so much more. There's a ton of stuff in here. There's a link to Pop Menu in the show notes. I'll say this. That's what they like me to say. My comment is, at Schedule Fly, we have a lot of mutual customers with Pop Menu, and I've talked to a lot of those folks, and they say, great company, great product, great customer service, great results. So check them out. And check out this very, very special episode with Chip Bair, Bojo's, Idaho Springs, Colorado. More episodes coming soon. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. See you. We're recording. All right. This is a very, very special opportunity for me to be where I am right now, which is at Beau's in Idaho Springs, Colorado, sitting across the table from Bair. In Beau's, this is the original location, and they are celebrating 50 years in business. So first of all, Chip, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What an amazing accomplishment that is. That's you're in town, you live in Hawaii now, you're here for the week. This place, you and Alex gave me a tour, 14,000 square feet in this building, buildings I guess you've combined, but tons of character and 50 years of history. So man, I'm like I don't ever really get nervous doing these podcasts. I've done so many, but this is like a really special occasion for me.
Thank you.
I mean that like really, it was like the highlight of my year so far when you said you'd be willing to sit down and do this. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You were one of the, when we did our first Restaurant Owners Uncorked book, and we self-published that in 2011, which means we were doing the interviews in 2010, and we had 20 owners that we featured in that book, and you were one of them. And your story, there were just two or three that really stood out. They're all great, but like that I never forgot, right? And I never forgot you telling me about opening your first location here, which you showed me just right up the street, 50 years ago, and you were hustling, and you were taking taking newspapers to be recycled to earn money to buy gas to go down the hill to buy your supplies because nobody would deliver up here then. You were sleeping on the floor in the restaurant, and here we are 50 years later. So
I'd forgotten about some of that.
I was wondering about that. I love a great entrepreneurial story, and I love a great entrepreneurial story that's built on grit and hustle and creativity and just, learning from mistakes and just rolling up the sleeves and putting the head down and just going. I mean, it wasn't like you had a bunch of backers and tons of money sitting in the bank. It was just an idea and something you wanted to do, and to have set out to do that and to go through 50 years of economic cycles and all the things that have happened over the last 50 years, and here we sit in this amazing building with so much character and a happy team of people and a bunch of happy customers. So man, just super, super, super inspiring.
Well, thank you very much.
So you live in Hawaii now.
That's correct.
How long have you been in Hawaii?
About 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah. Okay. Winter time. We spend the winter there. We spend the summer here in Colorado.
So you still do come here for the summer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because then that means you were there in the winter because that was about 12 or 13
right.
years ago.
We had just moved over to Hawaii when you were doing the book.
Okay. See, I thought you were there full time now, so you're still here in the, okay.
Yeah. I've been trying to retire for 15 years.
You were telling me that then. That was one of the things you were saying. Yeah. Well, so tell us what was the origin story of Beau's? Why did you start this place?
I'd always wanted to be into business. I always loved pizza. I wanted to move into the mountains.
Where were you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in northern Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota.
Okay.
That's why I'm tired of the winter. That's why I moved to Hawaii. I've had enough winter. Living for the last 50 years up at 8,600 feet. It's I'm ready for Hawaii. But yeah, I had always wanted to get into business. I had, actually when I was a kid, up in Duluth, Minnesota, I tried to start a surf shop up there back in the 60s, and went to a sporting goods store. Actually, it was a discount store, a large discount store, and tried to talk them into putting in a surf shop into the discount store. They did several years later, but they didn't at that point in time.
In Duluth, Minnesota.
In Duluth, Minnesota. So when I was a junior in high school, I was trying to put this surf company together, so we sponsored a Bruce Brown surf movie called The the Endless Summer up in Duluth, Minnesota. We had it on, it was January 30th. I think it was like 1967 or something like that. And it was 30 degrees below zero. And we had over 600 people came to the surf movie. So we made some good money for the school. We were raising money for the athletic bus. It was great because I got out of school a lot. I was out, running around. I didn't go to school a whole lot.
I hear you. And you had, didn't you have a family friend who was involved with like Geno's or something like that?
Yeah. The guy's, his name was Walt Wertman, and he was the president of Geno's. We knew him when I was real young, and I can't remember.
Because I feel like you had a sister or two sisters?
I've got two sisters.
And I think he had daughters, and like all the girls would run around, and when y'all were together, and you would just sit and listen to your dad and him talk about business. I remember you telling me about that.
Yep. Yeah, they were good family friends. The girls would be playing together, playing house or whatever, putting plays together, and I'd sit there with my dad and Walt and listen to business stories. That was more fun for me.
At an early age, man, you had the entrepreneurial gene early. So, okay, so you're there in Duluth, Minnesota, and then did you come here to Idaho Springs to start a pizzeria, or how did you wind up?
No, I moved to Denver.
You moved to Denver?
Yeah, my sister went to school in Boulder, and I always wanted to move out there. My grades weren't good enough to really get into school. I went to a summer session, but that was about as good as I could do.
Okay.
So I was trying to move out here with some friends for a while. We were going to move out, just couldn't make it happen, and so I finally jumped on the Greyhound bus, packed a couple bags, jumped on the bus, and went and moved to Denver, rented a room at the YMCA the first night I got here, and looked in through the Sunday paper for roommates and found somebody, and never even stayed at the Y. So.
Okay. Found somebody there in Denver.
Yeah.
And how did you wind up here in Idaho Springs?
Well, my cousin had moved up from Florida with a friend, and his friend knew Beau and Joanne, who had actually started the restaurant.
Oh, that's coming back. Okay, that's right. That's where the name came from.
Yeah, that's the name is Beau and Joanne, and so that's where the name Bojo's came from.
That's where the name Bojo's came from. Okay. And when you were up here initially, you had, I think you said, like, didn't you trade something like $25 a month in pizza for a room or something like that when you finally were able to get out of the sleeping in the restaurant, like you had your own something like that. It's like the dog catcher or something.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I rented a small cabin next door to the dog catcher, which was really handy because I had a dog and I wasn't too big into keeping him tied up. So the dog catcher would come in and you kind of looked the other way when my dog was around. So that worked out pretty good.
The dog catcher. You used to have dog catchers back in the day. Now everybody has to keep their dog like in their yard or whatever. But
now we're very dog friendly anymore, and people are bringing dogs in the restaurant and all over. So
yeah, we are. Those
dogs
did pretty well for themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, they have. They have. Oops.
Yeah, they've done all right. So, and you were like driving around, taking newspapers to be recycled, to make money, to buy gas, because I guess where did you have to drive into Denver to get supplies?
Yeah, I had to go down to Denver.
So nobody was coming up here to Idaho Springs?
No.
I guess 70 wasn't here at the time.
70 was just getting built.
70 was just getting built.
But our supplier wasn't coming up here. There were some people that were coming up here, but not the people that we were dealing with. I was dealing with an old Italian in a smaller company. They started delivering up here a few months later.
Okay.
Now probably 6 months or so.
Do you remember hiring your first employee?
My first employee actually came with the business when I bought it from Beau and Joanne.
Okay.
My first employee was a girl by the name of Patsy May, and she's the one that actually taught me how to make the pizzas.
Okay.
And she's the one that came up with the roll around the crust, which is what we call our ingredient restraint system that builds it up so we have a lot of room to put lots of good stuff into it. And it presents a really attractive looking product. People eat with their eyes. They
do. My eyes are big right now. I'm looking at this thing. It looks fantastic. Okay, so you bought it from them. Were they retiring?
No. They were, again, this is, we were all hippies, I guess, at that point in time. And they followed a guru, Maharishi Maheshi Yogi, or maybe it was somebody else, and again, this is a long time ago. And Comet Kohoutek was supposed to be coming around the planet, and there was a lot of concern in the spiritual world that was going to cause a lot of problems, and they thought the safest place to be was going to be Hot Springs, Arkansas. So they wanted to sell the restaurant and move to Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Unbelievable. Wow. Did you ever hear from them again?
Oh, yeah. I communicated with them, several different times. Actually, Beau almost came back to work for us at one point. But I had a manager and a little bit of management team, and they felt very threatened about having Beau come back to work, so it didn't come together, which was too bad. That would have been really interesting. That could have been really neat.
They didn't stay in Arkansas?
No, they didn't stay. They moved back to down to Hotchkiss, Colorado, and then I think they've been out, and last I heard they were in Washington, maybe in the Seattle area.
Okay.
And they ended up being nurses, but they were really an interesting couple. They were pretty cool.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
This pizza's fantastic, man.
Well, thank you.
There's something sweet. Do you use honey?
Yeah, we use honey.
That's
we don't use any sugar. Actually, Beau and Joanne used sugar in the recipe. As soon as I got into the business, I took the sugar out and put honey in. Yeah, went to all fresh ingredients and stuff. Back in the 70s, most pizza was garbage, and they used dehydrated onions and dehydrated peppers and canned mushrooms and the oldest and cheapest stuff that they could get, but. We started putting good quality stuff on, and lots of it.
I remember you telling me about that, lots of it. You said that you wouldn't, like if your friends came over, you wouldn't skimp on ingredients, so you didn't want to skip on your ingredients with your customers.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And started taking the pizzas to parties and stuff like that with friends, and started building up. I was also in the 70s, a lot of inflation, so had to raise prices. I didn't have a concept of food costs and so forth, so I got to charge more, I got to put more on. I was running a 50% food cost there for a long time, which is pretty hard to survive with that kind of a food cost. It's a good thing I was about the only employee. Had a couple of part-time people. I did everything myself.
50% food cost. Well, inflation was no joke in the late 70s.
Oh, no, it was horrible. It was worse than it was here in this last year.
God, that's a tough time to get a business like that going when you're, ooh, man. It was like 20% interest rates and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was 20% interest rates. The inflation was really high. And I'm thinking 20% interest or inflation, but I don't recall what that was exactly. It was just real high.
No, it was crazy. I'm going to read something to you that I wrote on our blog after we did that first book. This is you. People are probably the biggest asset you have. You have the concept, and then your people come directly thereafter, or parallel, or whatever. I guess I'm kind of a hippie from the 60s or 70s. I've always tried to look at things with a rosy outlook and tried to do what's right by the company and its employees. We have some waitresses whose mothers had worked for me. Most of our managers have been with us for 12 to 15 years. The store that opened in South Dakota was opened by a manager that started working with us in the mid-'80s. She and her husband decided they wanted to move up to Rapid City, and she wanted to continue with our business. So we helped set her up, and she's really happy there and doing really good with it. She'd been with us for a really long time and knew what we were doing and what we were all about. We do things for our employees, such as having paid vacations, even for our dishwashers. We have annual ski passes that are available to our staff to use. We have good health insurance for our management staff. We used to pay all of it for the whole family up until the last several years. We still try to do the vast majority of it, but that gets harder and harder all the time. Boy, this was 12 years ago. Now that's really changed.
Yeah, some things have definitely changed.
Yeah, golly. Okay, this is you still. The restaurant industry tends to beat management staff up a lot. Typically in chains, managers will work 60 to 80 hours a week. Our managers typically work 40 to 45. hours per week. We might not pay them what they could make at restaurants where they'd work 80 hours per week, but we've always felt that there needs to be a balance between working and your life. So we've always had our managers working 45-hour weeks, and that's one of the reasons we retain them. We deal with them as humans and equals and look for input. I've seen people go in and berate their employees, and that's just not the way we are. We believe in the family and the strength of it. We try to follow through with that, with the things that we do for our employees. Tell me about that philosophy with employees. You've been doing this 50 years. I imagine that's been a common theme throughout.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
It's been the basis of it, and we've just taken that one step further. We just announced on my 50th anniversary that we were turning ourselves into a company, an employee-owned company.
Are you really?
So we're turning into an ESOP. We've been
Dude.
working on that for several years now. We started it actually before the pandemic, but then the pandemic came about, and that kind of put us back behind the 8 ball a little bit, set us back, but we just made the announcement. It's not a done deal. We haven't finalized everything yet, but it's going to be happening hopefully by the beginning of the summer.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk
I'm
about
really
what
excited about
what
that.
led to you making that decision, and how does that work? I don't know much about that, so I'm curious how that works.
Okay, and an ESOP is a qualified retirement program, and so there's a lot of things that you have to do with the IRS and so forth on it. But it's a employee stock option plan. So all employees that come and they work, and then there's various different vesting schedules and so forth that you do. But when they're vested, they actually become owners of the company. So I'm selling my stock to the ESOP.
Are you the sole owner now?
I'm the sole owner right now. So I'm selling my stock to the ESOP. Actually, we're doing a 70-30 split at this point in time. We're keeping 30% for the family, and 70% is going to the employees. So the profit of the business, they don't pay anything for it. It's the profitability of the business earns them their stock. Okay. And then when they retire, hopefully, there's a lot of times where, people have hundreds of thousands of dollars in retirement savings through their ESOP. It's really, really a wonderful, wonderful program.
And you vest in that based on your tenure with the business?
That's correct.
Okay.
Your tenure, salary, how long you're there, and so forth.
So it's a really wonderful employee benefit. I mean, if you start here, whatever, next week, and you end up working here for 10 years, then you will accrue more and more
stock as time goes on. And the thing with the ESOP is that for me is getting the employee really vested in the company, knowing what's going on, understanding that when you put 5 napkins down on the table when the guest only needs 1, you're throwing a lot of money away. Once they get, the cultural piece of the ESOP is probably the most important thing, and that's the education. That's teaching your employees what it's like, what it means to be an owner, having that ownership mentality, and having the pride in what they're doing, and the peer pressure, between the employees. There's a lot of, once we made our announcement the other day, I had employees coming up to me, and this one employee had been with us for a year. He came to us from a restaurant down the street. He'd been there for 10 or 15 years. He said he'd wished he had moved here sooner. And after we did the ESOP, he goes, "Wow, I really did." He said he called up his wife and told him what we were doing, and his wife started crying. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't like making women cry, but that's okay.
Dude, that's one good way to do it. That's amazing, man. So, and then if they are here, so you would vest. I'm working through this in my head. You would vest over a certain amount of time, and then once and then if you retire, you've been here 15 years, and you retire, you would carry that with you.
You will carry that, or actually, it's I'm not sure if I know the exact detail on that. Basically, if you retire, if you leave us, then you would sell your stock. Now, whether you could put that into like a 401k to
right, you would sell it
it
because the business has to have
right,
that for the yes.
Right.
Okay.
So they would sell their stock back to the company when they leave us.
How is it valued?
The value is based on profitability, and that's where you get the cultural aspect is in teaching the employees, again, the value of what they're doing, what things cost, so they're more attuned to saving money, because if you save a penny here, that turns into a whole lot more into the value of the company.
And so they have visibility then into the financials and knowing.
No, they don't. I don't think they actually get into the visibility of the financials.
Okay.
Okay. They are stockholders, but they are not voting stockholders.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
So they don't actually get into into that detail of it. But again, part of what you want them to do is be aware of what's happening.
And they get like a statement, like showing them what they're.
Yeah, they'd be getting statements, and again, I'm not sure exactly what all of those details are and exactly what that's going to look like.
Who does this for you? Like, who do you hire to help you turn into an ESOP? Is you just have to have a law firm that?
Yeah, basically we hired a consultant, and then with that we're hiring attorneys and I just have so much trouble with this term. A trustee. Okay, the trustee is actually who runs the employees side of things. They're there working with the company, kind of overseeing the company or whatever, making sure that things are being done that are going to be good for the employees. And so you have again it's you got your attorneys and It's much more formalized. I've never really worked with a board of directors, so we're going to be working with a board of directors. I'll have 3 internal board members, 2 external board members to set up the overall governance. I've kind of run things a little bit more out of the seat of the pants. We're going to get more formalized, which is a good thing.
Okay, all right. Well, congratulations. What a cool thing to do. So you've been thinking about this for a long time and working on it, and then COVID slowed things down, but well, that's great. That's fantastic. That's really awesome, man. I'm trying to think. Like, I'm sure there's other restaurants that are ESOPs. I don't know of any. What inspired you to do this?
Well, over the years, I've always had people come up to me, you want to sell or whatever, and if I ever talk to anybody, I go, well, if I do, I got to take care of my employees. And I was talking to my accountant, and it's a good way of doing it. A good exit strategy, because there's some real good benefits. You can defer capital gains when you sell. So as far as an exit strategy, it's a real good way of going because it defers capital gains, or you can choose to defer capital gains. You don't necessarily have to, but so you can keep that 20-30% in your capital gains and be able to retain that. You have to invest your money that you get out of, that you sell your business. You have to put that into a qualified investment, which today is basically stocks. And so you have to invest that in stocks. As long as you keep that in stocks and you don't have to take the investment,
That's nice. Yeah.
So that's a really big thing. So basically, he's my accountant. He knows the way I'm kind of wired and so forth. And so he was the one that thought that would be a good way for me to go.
That's fantastic. How many employees do you have now?
We have 252.
252. How many locations?
We have 5 locations with 1 licensed location. The 252 doesn't include the licensed people.
Where's the licensed one?
That's up in Steamboat Springs.
Okay. Tell me, and how long has that one been around?
He's been there. I don't remember right now.
Why the license? Like, what is the difference between
a license and a franchise?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a whole lot to say about them. We give them the name, the recipes.
Okay.
We give them, this is the way you make the product, but we don't have any control over the way he runs his business at all.
Was it a former employee or?
The licensee started as a former employee. He was actually the president of the company. He wanted to start a smaller to-go or fast casual. And so I really wasn't into it at that point in time. I says, go ahead, you can do it. So I let him take it and go, and he opened up actually 3 different restaurants. And then we had a falling out. It wasn't a pretty sight, but that's unfortunate. But the Steamboat Springs store has stayed, and he ended up selling that to. He had a partner in that I had known him, and then that partner sold to somebody else, and they've been doing well. They've been up there for I'm thinking somewhere around 20 years.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you have 5 that are company owned.
Right.
Okay. Thinking about opening the other ones?
We just signed a lease for one across the street from University of Denver down in Denver.
Do you have any other ones in the Denver area, or?
We had one not too far from there, but we lost that a few years ago. We'd been in that location for 20-some years, and Chick-fil-A came in about 2 years before our lease was up and got the lease out from underneath us. They never even talked to us. I had some real plans I wanted to do it there. Yeah, I was very disappointed. It was a good store for us, too.
Man, that's a bummer.
It was. That was 2 stores that they took away from me.
Chick-fil-A did?
Yeah.
That's not cool.
No. The other one was okay. This one wasn't so good.
So what do? They go, and through their plan, they go, okay, we need to be in this area, this location. And they start looking, and they go, find out how long the leases are on the, boom, that one there. That lease expires in 3 years or whatever. Let's get in there now.
Yep.
And then they work out a deal with the landlord, so you just get blindsided.
That's exactly right.
Like, how long do you know before that? I mean, like
I knew about 2 years before it happened. Before we lost.
Because is that when you start beginning to have the conversation on a lease renewal? Like, how long in advance do you typically?
Usually don't have that long in advance. I don't recall right now. I think they told us. I think the landlords told us that Chick-fil-A was going to get it. That I wasn't going to get an opportunity.
They didn't even give you a chance to.
I didn't have
match
an opportunity. No.
Why would they do that? Like, what's
Chick-fil-A's a big company. They got lots of bucks. And
yeah, but if you pay the same amount, like, you're already there.
I don't know. We would have been doing a major change to the restaurant. It had been there for a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, they thought that it was, probably wasn't the highest and best thing for that location.
Yeah.
With where we were, the building had been there for many years. Been a few different operations and so forth. It wasn't the greatest building, but if we had been able to get a new lease, I would have probably torn that down. I wanted to put a brewery in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Would have liked to have made it a brew pub. But, of course, we got a lot of brew pubs in Colorado, so I don't know if we need to do that anyway.
Do you, so you own this building?
This building.
Do you own any of your other locations?
Yeah, we own one of our other locations.
Okay.
And actually we actually own 2 other locations, but one location we closed down. So we just leased it out, and we've got a first right of refusal, or they have an option to purchase it.
Okay.
It just didn't work out. We didn't open well. You can't open badly. You got to open.
What does that mean?
Good.
You didn't open well?
We didn't open the restaurant good. We had a bad opening.
Where was this one?
This was in Longmont.
Okay.
And the contractor just kept messing around. It just wasn't making things happen. It took them forever and ever and ever. We had 3 different crews that we had hired. They said things were going to be ready, and it wasn't ready. And then we finally we got to get this thing open, and we opened when we weren't ready. And you just can't do that. It's almost impossible to recover.
Tough opening. It's hard to.
It's really tough to
get past that.
It's almost impossible.
When was this?
We just closed that store down last June.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long was it open?
About 5 years.
Okay. All right. So even all these years in, you can still miss.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Like I say, If
Gotta get a
you
lot
can
of
make
things
it-
right.
If you can make a mistake, I've made it, and I make them, and I continue to make them the same over and over again. I'm trying not to, but at least I make more right decisions than wrong decisions, I guess.
I have to learn lessons more than once a lot of times.
Yes.
So this building that we're in here, incredible character, 14,000 square feet. Is this multiple buildings that you've?
Yeah, this is 4 different buildings.
Four different, but you own the whole.
I own all 4 buildings, right?
Okay. When did you first? When were you able to buy the building? How long into the tenure of the business?
The early 80s. I don't remember exactly what year offhand.
So
But it was in the early 80s. We moved
10,
in
15
here.
years in. Did you have
No, because it was 73. No, actually, it was probably late. I think I bought, I bought this building that we're in here in 88. And this is the last one. We opened up over there in 74 originally. Couple of I probably bought it from them maybe in 78, 79. I haven't thought about that forever.
Oh, wow. Well, that was when interest rates were so high, and maybe they had to sell. I mean, a lot of people had to.
No, that wasn't a problem with
Oh,
them.
no,
They were an older couple. They were getting ready to retire and just kind of lightening up. And I was in a boy, I just don't remember what year it was. I haven't thought about that for a long
What a good
time.
asset to
Yeah,
own
it's
a
a really
building
good
here.
asset. Yeah, I'm really glad. It's
Yeah. I mean, Bojans will be here another 50 years.
hopefully.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
The employees are going to count on it.
I was going to say, is that part of the does that go into the ESOP as well, the real estate, or is
the
it
real,
just
the real estate won't go into the ESOP.
Yeah, I got you.
I'll keep the real estate out.
Well, you
We'll
need
just do
Bojos to
business.
keep doing well, so you got
That's
a
it. That's
good
right.
long-time tenant.
That's it.
Dude, this pizza's so good.
That's where I make my money's out of the rent.
Yeah, well, I know real estate's that's the way to go. I mean, that's I've always wondered about that. I mean, I always feel like, if you have a restaurant, you can own the building, but that's obvious, and most of the time you can't. But do you try to do that? Like, do you try to work in options to buy when you do long-term leases?
If I can, yeah. This last lease that we just did, they had something in the lease. It was really difficult putting this lease together. It wasn't a difficult lease to negotiate. It was a bigger company that we're negotiating with, and they've just taken forever to make things happen. It was a 3,500 square foot space that we were leasing. They had a storage space that was adjacent to the restaurant, and we asked them if we could include that into the restaurant space. It took them almost 2 months to figure out how big that space was.
Man, I would not have the patience. Golly, that's amazing.
I was just totally shocked. I mean, it's really valuable property. I mean, it's Class A property. And they're just, we've been negotiating with them since, I think August, maybe September, but I think it was August when we first went and looked at them. We go, yeah, we like it. We weren't that far off in the numbers. We got the numbers together, but just working out some of the little details was like, whoa, how come it's taking you 3 weeks or 4 weeks to get back and tell us, just a real simple thing? It's crazy.
That's going to be so frustrating. Well, okay, so about 10, 12 years ago, whatever, you and your bride moved to Hawaii, Maui, is that right?
Right.
For
That's correct.
The winter months here. Well, what do you do in Maui?
I have a good time.
Do you surf, fish?
I do one-man paddle boards or one-man paddle canoes, okay, outrigger canoes, and I mountain bike a lot. I have electric mountain bike, pedal assist mountain bike, and where I live, there's just really a lot of good trails to ride around up in the dirt and stuff like that, and it's a lot of fun. If we can't do that, you go out in the water. It's all good. This lifestyle there is just, you can't beat it.
No Bojos there?
No Bojos there. I'd have to work too hard.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Man, what an amazing business you've built. Man.
Well, thank you.
I mean, truly, 50 years, still has a wonderful
authentic, just great vibe to it. You've got great people around you. I mean, I've really enjoyed talking to Alex.
Oh, she's great. She's 100%.
Anytime I've talked to her, I think I told you that when I first got in touch. I was like, you really. I mean, she's fantastic, which says a lot, about you, and you have people like her that have been around as long as she has.
And she told you she went to work for us as a part-time waitress. She was going to college in Fort Collins, and this is a part-time gig for her while she was in college, and she was a teacher, and she kept on with us as she was teaching, and then she decided just to come full-time. It was a great story.
What a lot has changed in the last 10 years, like a lot of, technology. I mean, something like what we do, 20 years ago wasn't available. There's a lot of new things in the restaurant industry, but, and there's been a lot of change since COVID, and there's been a lot of people that didn't make it through COVID. But then a lot of businesses have gotten better from it. Do you feel like did you guys make changes and grow and get better through COVID?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
You had to make a lot of changes. Some of the benefit of COVID actually was it enabled you or forced you into making some of the changes that you may have been thinking about making changes, but you didn't want to change it because it was part of the core. For instance, we had really nice salad bars forever. That was one of our featured things was we did our salad bars in old clawfoot bathtubs. Well, when COVID came around, salad bars didn't work anymore. The thing with the salad bars, it's a very expensive proposition. Food cost, personnel, labor costs, really expensive. By taking out the salad bars, we actually cut our labor costs back by probably about 3.5% or so.
By taking out salad bars?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The overall cost factor. So it really helped our overall costs, and we probably wouldn't have been able to do that without COVID happening. It did cut down the amount of salads that we sold, but the overall bottom line was better, and that's what you got to go for is that bottom line. At some point, anyhow.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Having great people will never change. It's been challenging for the last few years. A lot of people left the industry. Some maybe are coming back now. Some won't.
We've gotten a lot of new people that haven't been in the industry.
Yeah.
We've hired the assistant manager that's working right now was in healthcare. She was a nurse, and she came over to us about a year ago. So I mean, there are changes. Yeah, we're losing people, but we're also getting some new ones. It's always a balancing act. You just have to strive harder and work harder to do a better job and make sure that your customers, your internal customers as well as your external customers are happy with you.
Internal as well as external. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you hire good people and take care of those people, they do a great job of taking care of
and they will.
Yeah.
They'll do a good job of taking care of you and your guest. And that's why we went to employee-owned company, because they're going to have a real direct involvement. Customers can talk to the owners, and they'll be that. I'm just really excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. There aren't very many companies that have gone, restaurants that have gone ESOPs, but there are a few of them.
Yeah.
And I think they've been generally doing pretty well.
Have you talked to some of the other ones that have done that?
I've talked to a couple. Not too many in restaurants. Most of the ESOPs that I've talked to weren't restaurants. I did talk to a couple of restaurants that were ESOPs, and they were real pleased with what it was doing. But again, it's how you deal with the culture. You can do the ESOP, but if you don't bring the culture along, at least this is my feeling, and I'm just getting into this.
Yeah.
But my consultant agrees with me, and all the people I talk to. We have an actual company called Praxis that's going to be working with us on the cultural piece, because to me that's the most important part of it, is training and teaching and getting involved with the employees so they get involved with us and they feel a real connection.
What else is on your mind, man? Anything else? Anything we didn't talk about that we should have?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
I mean, we could probably talk for another few hours, but
probably.
yeah.
We're things are changing so much these days. Makes it really challenging. You just have to stay on your game and be aware of what's going on. I think you got to be really striving to work with the employees, because again, with COVID, the work ethic has really changed. The attitudes of people, I think, have really changed. I've even seen that in Hawaii. The aloha spirit, I feel, is waning some.
Really?
Yeah, which is really sad. It's just everything that everybody else has been feeling, and I'm hoping that we're able to get it back. I'm a little bit worried about it, quite honestly.
So, when you say the aloha spirit is waning, you feel like people are just
angry,
kind of in a funk for the last few years.
Kind of in a they're angry. They're not willing to. There's less respect, I think, out there. People are not as respectful as they used to be.
Yeah,
I think we're losing that.
I think we're really how do I put this? I say this may not be the best way to say it, but it's almost like artificially divided. Meaning that I think there's a lot of I think the media and politicians have a vested interest in making people feel divided. A lot of times, I feel like when you sit down and talk to people, though, like most people aren't as angry as it appears. There's a small minority of people that are online and social media that are just like really angry, and it accentuates that vibe way beyond what would be naturally ubiquitous or would naturally spread organically. So, because I feel like most people, you see these things, you hear these stories, and you see people that are so angry, and then you spend time with people, and I don't find as many people that are as angry as you would think. Do you see that? Do you see that in Hawaii?
If you talk to a person, one-on-one to people, no. But you take a look at, all the people, in airplanes, all the problems with people getting mad in airplanes and so forth. They feel really entitled. I don't know. I don't really understand.
See, that's a good example. See, okay, so like I fly a lot. I never see anybody, like never.
Doing that, yeah,
but the media,
they you see it and then it's all over.
They highlight it and it makes it seem like it's more pervasive than it is. I think that's what I was trying to articulate. Is that we grew up, like you used to have the nightly news, like 3 news channels, 30 minutes of local news, 30 minutes of national news, and then that was kind of it. And then you just tuned out and you just went about your day and you lived your life. And now it's like this stuff is like banging you over the head constantly. And the only way to keep people's attention is to create anger or fear or some negative energy. That's what people stay focused on, And so if your objective is to keep people paying attention to whatever you're saying, you need to foster and gin up as much anger and all that stuff. And because you see these stories, like dude gets drunk, beats up person next to him on the airplane. They stay. Yes, it happens, but there's also tens of thousands of flights every day where everything just goes fine. But we don't hear about that. We only hear about that one. And then you hear about the person who got mad in the Walmart and punched out the, and like because it's like 24/7, 365. It's just like, it's just in your.
But it doesn't seem like that was happening like that before.
Maybe it probably wasn't.
And it's not nearly what you think, because if you listen to the media, they bring it up, and my nephew's a airline pilot. He hasn't had any problems with delay, necessarily delays or incursions or anything like that, but they're becoming more available.
Maybe there's more of it now. I mean, people are mimetic, right? They mirror what they see, and so when you start seeing, it's like, that's part of our psychology, unfortunately. So you see like other people doing that, you're like, yeah, I should do that too, maybe, and maybe it's subconscious, maybe it's conscious, or whatever it is. But I got dude, this is my phone.
All right, great. A flip phone. I love it.
I got so
I'd love to get a flip phone.
darn tired. You could pull it off probably. A lot of people can't. They just need, not because they couldn't, but it's just that they just flat out need to have, access to a lot of things you have with an iPhone. I've managed to get around it for 2.5 years. I took my phone in 2.5 years ago to Verizon, and I said, I don't want this. It was an iPhone 11. I've had iPhones for years, and I was like, I can't. I got to have, do you have any flip phones? And they were like, the guy was like, let me go look in the back.
I haven't seen one of those. That's great. It actually fits in your pocket.
It fits in my pocket, but here's the thing. It never does anything except for let somebody call me. And I can text. I mean, it's not easy. But, I can get text. But there's none of that other stuff. So it's not just, right in your face all the time. It's been nice. It's been really nice.
I would miss the camera at this point.
It has this crappy camera. I actually took pictures out there on the street because your town's so cool. I love this town. It's a beautiful little downtown area. This main street. But the cameras are it's like if you got it looks like it has one of those Instagram filters. It's old school.
I had a camera like that for a long time.
Yeah, the cameras that's a tough part. That and the navigation.
Oh,
trying to get places can be a little bit challenging sometimes. But
yeah, I used to shoot quite a bit in 35 millimeter and stuff. But now with the iPhone, I hardly ever pull out my 35.
Man, those cameras are freaking awesome. Those things right now.
They do a good job and they're handy. The best camera that you got is what you got in your hand.
Yep. Yeah. No, it is amazing. My family's always like, "See, you don't have a camera." I'm like, "Yeah, but all of you do." There's 5 of us and 4 of y'all have one. So I can get my hands on one when I need one, most of the time. But I hope the. Yeah, man. I don't know. It is a weird time. I mean, but you were, you saw, Lord, the late 60s and early 70s were a rough time.
That were challenging times too.
We go through some tough times, but
I was more on the other side of the coin at that point in time, being kind of young and let's. We got to take it cool. Let's all work together. Let's make things happen.
Well, I've talked about this on this podcast before. It's one of my favorite stories, but I believe it so much. It's the only way I can get my head around not getting too worried or not getting too anxious about all this negative stuff. It's the story of the tossing starfish in the ocean. So this guy's walking down the beach. And he sees a young girl, and she's tossing starfish into the ocean. And he says, "Hi there, young lady. I see you're throwing starfish in the ocean. What's going on?" She's like, "Well, the tide's going out, and they got washed up in high tide. The tide's going out, and if I don't toss them in the ocean, they're going to dry up and die." And he's like, "Well, yeah, but I can see for a mile or two down the beach, and there's thousands of starfish. What you're doing isn't going to make a dent. It's not going to make a difference." And she picks one up and she tosses it into the ocean, and she looks at him and she goes, "It made a difference to that one." I love that story because it's the way I wrap my brain around. You can't solve that stuff at scale, but you know what? Every interaction you have and I have, and the next person has,
and that all adds up.
It adds up and it compounds over time, because when you take good care of people like y'all do, and you make their day, and you make them smile, and you make them happy, and you pay it forward, then they're going to go do that to somebody else. And so it can make a difference if, we all are just kind, nice.
It makes a huge difference.
It really does. You do one nice thing for somebody. Go out of your way to do something nice. Hold a door for somebody. Whatever. They're like, wow.
And most people are really good out there. Most of the time.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's a lot of there's people that are kind of angry.
There are. Well, you know what? One good thing about pizzas is pizzas make people happy.
That's true.
Especially this.
Good food is a good equalizer. Yeah.
This honey, honey dough, thick crust, that stuff. That was some. I mean, dude, I ate that whole freaking thing.
Yeah, I noticed it disappeared.
Very yes. I was doing everything I could to ask you some open-ended questions so I could like take it down while you were talking. Oh man. Look, Chip, I really do thank you for taking the time to do this. I thank you for your business. I thank you for being in that book all those years ago and just having, you've been a story that stuck with me. And I mean, literally, I've done this almost 450 episodes. So your story stands out. And
Really?
I full on, dude. Yes, because I love I like stories about people that there's nothing wrong with this. Let me start by saying that. But like if you go and you have an idea and then you raise, like particularly in our world, like software, it's like the same bit. Like we had this thing and then we raised a bunch of money and got millions of dollars and all that. That's fine. Great. Cool. But to me, like just a person and an idea and the willingness to just do what it takes. I love that so much. I love sleeping on the floor because that's what you had to do until you could barter with the freaking dog catcher. Like, and 50 years later, here we sit. And it's I mean, so not only to start something like that and that hustle and determination and care and passion and love to get it going, but then to keep it going and see it through 50 freaking years, man, like that's, I mean, I just have so much respect for that. So I just really appreciate the opportunity to sit here with you and to eat pizza with you and drink beer and talk and share your story. And what you're doing now with the company is even, I mean, that just was icing on the cake for me because I think that's freaking really, really cool.
It could be really cool.
It's
really
a great
is.
thing.
And Will, thank you so much for what you've done for the restaurant industry and for the employees in the restaurant industry. Our people really love Schedule Fly. We just talked with a couple of them while we were sitting here.
Yeah.
And they tell us the stories about how Schedule Fly allows them to lead their lives. It makes it so we can run our business efficiently. It's a wonderful thing. So it's everybody working together towards common goals, doing the right thing. One of my favorite Hawaiian expressions is malama pono.
Malama Pono.
Malama pono. Malama pono means take care and be in balance. And if one stays in balance and you take care, everything will turn out okay. Stay in balance. Pono is the best.
Well, dude, you have figured out how to balance your life for 50 years, and that's an amazing thing. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And thanks for doing this, man.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
That's a wrap, y'all.
Okay.
See ya.